The moving truck hadn't even pulled away when the phone call was made. A new neighbor had arrived, young, black, and alone. Within minutes, red and blue lights danced across the quiet suburban street. But when the officers knocked on her door, the smug neighbor who had called them froze. Because the ID she demanded wasn't just proof of residency. It was a United States military ID, and at that moment, the whole neighborhood learned a lesson they would never forget. This was the kind of place people bragged about living in. A manicured suburb tucked behind gates, lined with maple trees that turned gold in the fall. Every mailbox identical, every lawn trimmed to perfection, every resident quietly policed by an invisible set of rules called the Homeowners Association, and at the center of that self-appointed order was Karen. Karen wasn't elected. She didn't need to be. She had an unofficial title she wore proudly, the watchful eye of the neighborhood. The one who called out chipped paint on garage doors, trash cans left out overnight, or cars parked facing the wrong direction. And when a moving truck appeared one sunny Saturday morning, Karen noticed. She always noticed. The truck backed into the driveway of a modest but beautiful two-story house. Out stepped a woman, late 20s, maybe early 30s, tall, confident. Her skin glowed in the summer light, and her eyes carried the kind of weight that suggested she'd seen more of the world than most people on that street ever had. She moved box after box with quiet determination. Alone. No family swarming around. No husband directing the movers. Just her neighbors peeked through blinds. Some whispered by their mailboxes. A few offered polite waves, quickly retracted when they realized Karen was watching. Karen's lips curled. Just moved in. By herself? No husband? No kids? Who paid for that house? The thoughts came fast, ugly, and unfiltered. To Karen, difference was danger. And this new neighbor was different. Karen didn't waste time. As the woman carried the last box inside, Karen was already dialing. Yes, police. I'd like to report something suspicious. A woman just moved into 43 Meadowbrook Lane. I don't think she belongs here. Her voice dripped with certainty. The kind that could only come from someone who believed the neighborhood was hers to control. Within minutes, the familiar hum of patrol cars broke the quiet. 2 cruisers rolled down the street, lights flashing but sirens off. Neighbors stepped outside, pretending to check mail, pretending to water plants, pretending not to stare. Phones discreetly raised, recording. Karen smirked. This was her victory. The officers approached the house. One knocked firmly on the door. Inside, the new neighbor, let's call her Danielle, wiped sweat from her brow. She had expected to unpack boxes, maybe order takeout, maybe enjoy her first quiet night in her new home. Instead, she opened her front door to flashing lights. "Ma'am, we got a call about someone suspicious moving into this property. Can we see some ID?" Karen stepped closer, arms folded, radiating smug triumph. She spoke loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "Yes, officers. I don't think she actually lives here. People like her don't usually move into this neighborhood." A murmur ran through the small crowd of onlookers. Danielle's eyes flickered, not with fear, but with something harder, something forged. She reached calmly into her bag. What she pulled out wasn't just a driver's license. It wasn't just a utility bill or closing papers. It was a United States military identification card. The officers froze. Their posture shifted immediately, respectful. "Ma'am," one said, his tone softening. "Thank you for your service." Karen's smirk collapsed. Her eyes widened. She stuttered. I didn't. I was just making sure she wasn't trespassing." But the silence from the neighbors was louder than her excuses. Some were recording. Some shook their heads. Some whispered words like disgraceful and embarrassing. Danielle didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She simply stood taller, her ID still in her hand, her dignity unshaken. Word spread quickly. Within hours, the incident was the talk of the neighborhood. Some residents came by later, sheepishly offering apologies for not stepping in. Karen, once the loudest voice of the HOA, found her phone calls unanswered, her friendly reminders ignored. The power she had clung to slipped through her fingers, undone not by confrontation, but by her own prejudice. And Danielle. She kept unpacking. Slowly, steadily, she turned her house into a home. She hung pictures of her unit on the wall. She planted flowers in the front yard. She waved back at the few neighbors brave enough to meet her eyes. She had defended her country, She had stood guard in places far more dangerous than a suburban cul-de-sac, and yet here in the land she had sworn to protect, she had been forced to defend herself against suspicion, against bias, against the sharp edge of ignorance. The story of Danielle and Karen isn't just about a call to the cops. It's about something deeper. It's about the assumptions people make when they look at someone and decide who they must be. It's about the invisible battles fought not overseas, but in neighborhoods, offices, and daily lives. And it's about the quiet strength of those who refuse to let hate define them. Karen thought she was exposing an intruder. But in reality, she exposed herself, to her neighbors, to the officers, to anyone watching. Danielle didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't need to fight. All she needed was the truth. And the truth, in that moment, was more powerful than prejudice. Closing narration, so the next time you hear about a suspicious neighbor, the next time someone jumps to conclusions about who belongs where, remember this story, because sometimes the person you doubt the most has sacrificed the most for the freedoms you take for granted. And sometimes the real intruder isn't the one moving in. It's the fear, the ignorance, and the prejudice that never should have been there in the first place.